when we're in the flow, that is when we get the signs, we get the confirmations. Confirmations come in so many ways. One of the best confirmations that I love is that, like, we've been in conversation, or when we're in conversation with somebody else, and all of a sudden you hear a noise, whether it's a train, whether it's a horn honking, whether it's a dog barking, the phone ringing, whatever it is, and it's like, you may have just said something, given an idea, or said something really profound, or talked about a truth that you were experiencing, and if you're aware in the moment, you can hear. You can hear, like, you're like, oh, confirmation.
Or you're in a restaurant and someone drops dishes.
Yes, yeah.
Just so be aware of that. And it's all about being aware, being present.
Hi, I'm Deborah.
Hello, I'm Deanna.
And today we are here again. It is our intention to inspire, to motivate, assist you, and uplift you into living your best life ever.
And we're going to show you through our real life examples of everything that we've experienced, all the tools that we've acquired, just how to do it and how to become the greatest version of who you are and get out of your own way.
Yeah. And also, these are tools that we have used over the past 30 plus years and that we have acquired, and our tool belt is huge. And we are so excited to share more of this information with you today.
Because we are like on the precipice of something really great, and we can feel it. And that's where the magic begins, is when you can feel the energy of your desired reality, then it comes true. And then you're led, and you just have to be open and willing to listen.
And also that it isn't something that you feel all the time. We're going to have our ebbs and our flows and our, ups and downs and different things that happen. But when we're in the flow, that is when we get the signs, we get the confirmations. Confirmations come in so many ways. One of the best confirmations that I love is that, like, we've been in conversation, or when we're in conversation with somebody else, and all of a sudden you hear a noise, whether it's a train, whether it's a horn honking, whether it's a dog barking,
the phone
ringing, whatever it is. And it's like, you may have just said something, given an idea, or said something really profound, or, talked about a truth that you were experiencing. And if you're aware in the moment, you can hear. You can hear, like, you're like, oh, confirmation.
Or you're in a restaurant and someone drops dishes.
Yes, yeah.
Just so be aware of that. And it's all about being aware, being present. And I want to know, what do you think? I mean, there's so many things that we can talk about.
Well, so let's talk about one more of a sign. Okay, so say you're on a walk. Oh, sorry, I was going to do it, but if you have another one, we can do too.
What I wanted to add to what you were saying was when you get chills all over your body.
Yeah.
I like to refer to them as spirit sparks.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's your soul that's saying, this is right on. This is in alignment with your highest and best truth.
Right. Yeah.
And that's so to acknowledge that in the moment, and to feel it.
Yes.
Oh gosh, to me, that's worth its weight in gold.
Yeah. So I have a wonderful example. It just came to my mind because the other day, so in my bedroom, I have a window facing my yard, the backyard. And so I was making my bed, and I happened to glance out, and I saw something red in my yard, and everything else is brown right now. So it really stood out. And it's like looking at a black and white picture, and you see, so I'm like, oh, sure. I wonder what that is. And then I thought, oh, it's probably an apple because we throw apples out in our yard for the deer. And I said, oh, I wonder where the deer have been. They haven't, picked up that apple. And so I went down into the kitchen and I'm doing my daily routine of my lemon water, celery juice, and heavy metal detox smoothie. And I'm in the flow of doing all of that. And all of a sudden, I look out and there's a deer who had been blending in with the nature, in my backyard, I do have some fields. It's small, super small. We have intentionally made it into a field. So it's all wild
natural growth.
Yeah. People call it weeds, but we don't call it weeds. So anyway,
they're beautiful flowers.
All of a sudden, he turned to look at me. I think he saw me in the window, right? Mm-hmm. And he turns to look at me, and I'm like, "Oh, thank you! I'm so glad you're here and eating the apples, right?" And so I go and I get some more apples, off the porch. And so I'm being very quiet when I'm opening and closing doors. And then I go and I open the top of a window and I start tossing more apples out. And I tossed out 4 more apples. And so I went back into the kitchen and I was watching her, and she, was just, munching on it, went over to another part and was munching on another one. And then I noticed that she walked away. And so the thought that I had in that moment was that if she was a human, she would have grabbed all of the apples, because we sometimes live in lack and limitation.
Sometimes.
Like we don't know where, the next meal is coming from, or that's how I think people get into hoarding situations, because they're afraid. It's the fear that there isn't going to be enough.
Yes.
And so it was such a beautiful, beautiful example how in nature, the animals know that there is abundance. Mm-hmm. There's abundance everywhere. And in every inspirational video that I watch and every speaker that I listen to, that's what everyone's talking about. There's abundance. And it's just so opposite of what we are shown in mainstream media. So we could go right into the story. Deanna has a friend, and she saw
our first podcast, and where Deborah talked about hadn't had a TV in her house for over 20 years. And her children grew up not watching TV, and that she has not watched the news in 20 years. Now, I just want to clarify this, Deanna, that she is aware of the news because she has certain subscriptions. So she'll read the headline, and this is what I do.
So you're talking about me.
Deborah.
So,
Deborah, and I read the headlines, and then
only when we choose to or want to.
Yeah, I mean, if it's something that we think that we should know about.
Yeah, not on a daily basis.
No, and then, but in my household, my husband he's addicted. He's addicted to watching the news, and he showed me the other night that we were having dinner, and he all of a sudden he goes, "Oh my gosh, I'm missing my 5 o'clock show." Oh. And I was like, okay, it's all right. Just breathe into it. They're talking about the same thing they did last night. And this is the conversation that I'm having with him.
Oh my
gosh. And so we were done eating. I started to clean up. And what did he do?
Went right into the bedroom where the TV is.
Yes. So sometimes I'm okay with having the big TV on in our great room, but now they're talking about the same thing, and then they're just exaggerating it, and then they're showing just all this negative stuff, and it affects me. It affects me. Yeah. And that night that I was messaging with, I had watched 2 of Kevin's news programs, and when I got in bed, I was really tired. My body was tired, but I couldn't fall asleep because my mind was going.
Yeah.
My mind just kept going. And I said, that's enough. The first thing in the morning, I woke up and I said, nope, we cannot have the news programs on in the great room. And he is perfectly comfortable with going into the TV room, which is the spare bedroom. He's got a comfortable space, and he he likes it. So I'm happy. But I just read the headlines.
Yeah. I want to talk about though.
What did I say about her that you want to talk about?
So just that, she doesn't think that she could stop watching the news.
Yes.
So to me, that is a control issue.
Mm-hmm.
As humans, we have a lot of control issues. Okay, so I have another story about that, about not watching the news. So this was years ago. It's like 14 years ago. I know, it was 14 years ago. So I remember exactly where I was. My kids were young. I was in the Toys R Us parking lot. It was probably around Christmas time.
Oh, yeah.
Or something. And, I don't know. Anyway, so I get a phone call from my mother. My mother never calls me. And so of course, I answer the phone, right?
Alarmed.
Yeah, probably. Anyway, so she knew that I did not watch the news. And she would always say to me, I don't know how you don't know what's going on. How are you going to know what's going on? And I would say, because if it directly affects me, I'll hear about it.
Yes.
I will hear about it, but I don't need to know what's going on around the whole world, especially when it's all the negativity.
It is.
Give me a positive news station.
There's so much positivity going on.
I will watch that.
Yeah.
And I will
going to lift me up.
Put my energy into that. But okay. So hi, Mom. Have you heard the news? And just 2 or 3 days before that, my older sister had called me and told me that her daughter was pregnant with her first child. So it was my sister's, first grandchild. And she asked me not to say anything to my mom. She wanted to tell her herself.
Yeah.
And so my mom,
Mom,
did you hear the news? And of course I was like, I could hear, she was joyful in her, in her tone. And I was like, I have to be cautious here because I don't want to, I'm like, what news? She goes,
blah, 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 blah,
blah, blah, blah. This person was killed. And so I was like, I said, no, I didn't know that. But Mom, honestly, knowing and hearing that someone was killed does not make me feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, she probably criticized me or said that I was weird, or something.
Mm-hmm.
Or that was the only person in the world that probably felt that way at that time. Who knows? But I'm sure I wasn't, because there are a lot of people like me. And then just Sunday, I had another sign about how much I've changed, because there was a movie that we were watching at your house, and my daughter had really wanted to watch this movie. And I remembered watching that movie when my children were young. Did it come out in the early 200s? Or, around 2010 or something, 2010 or something. And, I loved the movie. I saw it at the theater. I was, really, it was action packed and everything. And beautiful, beautiful, meaningful lessons and messages in the movie. But anyway, we were rewatching it, and towards the end of the movie, there's violence, and you don't see blood and gore and all of that, but it is, violence. And so I was like, okay, I can't watch this.
No.
I couldn't even watch it in a movie that I had at one point in time actually watched.
Because you have shifted.
Because I have shifted that, and because I've been aware from it.
And
away from that for so long. I think that we become numb to it.
We do.
Okay.
We do.
So, and I mean, I know that there are people who are unaffected. They can watch the news and go to sleep.
Yeah,
they're
that's Kevin.
unaffected.
That's Kevin.
But it's still going into the subconscious
Sure
mind.
is.
It's still going into it.
And it's affecting other areas of your life.
Yeah.
And you're not even aware of it.
You're not even aware of it.
And people are not even aware of that.
Yeah. So when we were talking earlier about, the limiting beliefs and, what people have as limiting beliefs, and that, and Dr. Joe says that, a thought you think over and over again. And how many thoughts do we have a day? Over 60,000.
60 and 80,000 thoughts a day.
Yeah. And so when a belief is a thought that you just keep thinking over and over again.
And that's energy.
Yeah.
And you're putting that energy out into the environment.
So you're going to think about the news after you see it.
Sure,
I don't care who you are.
Yes,
yeah. You're going to think about it. And so think about that you're thinking about what you're watching on the news every night, because they're talking about the same thing all the time.
And then it's affecting your daily life.
Yes, it does. And you don't even know it.
You're unaware.
Yeah.
It's almost like this unconscious unconscious. And I don't know about you, but if something doesn't make me feel very good, I don't want to participate in that. And that is the one boundary that has been the newest boundary with me is now I will walk away from a conversation if I don't get a good vibe from it. I will change the subject. I'll excuse myself because I have to protect my own energy.
Yes.
And we have to protect our own energy. And I think that I know that I am protecting my own energy by not watching the news.
Yeah.
When something affects me energetically, whether it's good or bad, I hang on to it. So if it's bad, I don't want that experience. But if it's, is something that is really joyful, it made me feel really good. It made me feel like I'm, on this high. Those are the things that I want to be in my environment because I know that is energy going out there and that is going to manifest my reality.
Right. So what you put out there comes back to you in your thoughts, your words, your actions, everything. So if you want your life to change, you have to change your personality. And so you change your personality by making different choices.
Yeah.
So that is a choice that you make that, okay, that makes so much sense to me. And intellectually, I know your friend I know her. I've met her. I know she would say that makes so much sense. But then she's got this habit that she's been doing, for her entire adult life, I'm sure. And maybe the news was always on in her house when she was growing up that, she's in her, 50s or 60s. Like, how does she break that habit? And the first step to breaking the habit is to becoming aware of it. Mm-hmm. Then the next step
to wean yourself from it.
To make a different decision. Just to decide. I don't want to feel like that anymore.
No.
I don't. It doesn't need to be a part of my world. And so that's it. So these are like the basic steps that we talk about, that we guide people in our sessions too. And how, people will come back to us. Okay, I had another experience the other day when I was text messaging with our producer, and he could not get the podcast launched because he didn't have internet. So then I contacted him a couple of days later. I'm like, hey, is it going to be, what do you call it? Posted, right. And
posted.
And he wrote back, I haven't had internet since Friday. I've been dead in the water and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my God, just reading those words, dead in the water, I get a visual, and I'm like, Scott?
No,
So
don't say
I
that.
message him back, and I'll say, remember energy, words have energy, and so, it's a good idea to remove that saying, which he probably heard from somewhere else or, that's usually how you get those, someone else said it. And I can imagine in production, they have their own language, that they use.
Yes.
So he learned that from somewhere. But now, because he's been listening to our podcast too, he is starting to change. And we asked him today, what was one of the things that, and I love the story because he said, my daughter, has misplaced her jacket and it hasn't appeared yet. And, we're getting into the feeling of, where are you, jacket?
Oh, there you are.
There you are. And so I said, I had an example of that recently because it's not like instantaneous. Sometimes it is, especially when it's with your phone because it's got to be in the vicinity.
30 seconds ago.
Like people could leave their jackets. How many people have left their jackets in our studio before?
Oh,
and they walk out, they leave. Yes. Okay.
Their jackets.
So that happens.
It's normal.
If she, has an intuitive hit to go and check someplace where she's been, or to contact her friends, hey, have you seen this jacket? Right. But also, so my example was that Deanna had gone away for a weekend and she gave me her credit card for something. And so I remember I took it out of the car. I put it somewhere and I knew where I put it. And then I put it somewhere else and I knew where I put it instead of just putting it in my wallet. I don't know why I didn't do that. Anyway.
It's because she's ADD.
And so.
And it's okay.
Yeah. And so then there was the day that I was going to make this purchase and I didn't have her card. So I was like, okay, I'm just letting it go. Because ordinarily I would have been like calling her, Deanna, you better check your account. I don't know where your card is.
Yes, you would have been reacting.
Yeah, I would have been reacting and I would have been panicking.
And it wasn't until I got home that you told me.
Yeah, no, it wasn't.
She waited until I got home to tell me. And
because I knew, I had done that with my own cards before.
Oh, yeah.
So haven't we all? But it doesn't matter. Like even if you look in your wallet and you had cash in there and it's like, there's no, like, you're like putting that energy out there, right?
Yeah.
And so it wasn't until, and then Deanna came home and I told her, I'm like, and Deanna was like,
that's okay because I just ordered a new one because I got a new logo on my card, on my bank card, the Bills logo. And I said, it's all right. When you do find it, just cut it up.
Yeah.
Because it's the same number. But I did check my account and I went online and I checked and there were no purchases.
Right.
So I let it go.
Yeah.
I was not even aware of it.
Thank God she let it go.
I let it go.
Yeah.
And then this was a few weeks ago. It was, middle of December. So a month later.
Yeah. And then
she calls me up and she goes, guess what I found?
I was putting on a jacket and I swore I had checked all the pockets of my jackets, but anything I had worn, but apparently not this one, or apparently I didn't feel it when I checked the pocket. I don't think I had checked that pocket, but, and then that elation I felt when I found it, to just sit in that for a few minutes. It feels so good.
Yeah.
So that then
you let it go.
Yeah. And then
and then it just appears.
And then you can call it up again.
Wow.
When
that
you need
feeling.
it.
Call that feeling up.
Yes.
And this is all about it. But you gotta oh my gosh, when you're in a low vibratory feeling, you're not feeling good. We have the choice in that moment to change it. And there's so many different ways to change that feeling and to raise our own vibration, whether it's listening to some dance music, going out for a walk, getting outside, and I don't care how cold it is, grounding, it'll change.
Bare feet on the ground.
Bare feet on the ground.
Bare feet on the ground.
Getting an ice cold glass of water, whatever it is, that'll help you to shift your feeling.
Yes.
And to raise your feeling. So we have the power to do that.
Yes. So that's it. That is that like when you said we have the power to do it, we do have the power to do it. We just haven't practiced that. We haven't been shown that. It was so interesting because Sam this morning, my daughter, she said that she had a wonderful dream last night that she was in a college class and it was actually Anthony William, the medical medium, who was teaching the class, and he was teaching them how to levitate something. And I was like, oh my gosh, could you imagine if college classes were like that?
Wouldn't that be great?
Oh my gosh.
I think that she's creating a college class.
I know. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, if we all start envisioning that.
Yes. Everyone started envisioning that. It's just like, when we talked about the weather in our last podcast, about instead of complaining about the weather, envision the sun being out or envision it being warmer
or feel it.
Or
just feel it though, as though it is out.
Yeah.
I mean, turn all the lights on in your house if you want.
Yeah.
Brighten up your day in whatever way it is. Wear white.
Yes. Or strong color.
Yeah. Bright color.
Yeah.
Just to change the way you're feeling.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you don't like it, change it. Yeah. Just change it.
Yeah. Just make the decision. Become aware of it. Make the choice to change it. And then it's done. And then the more you do that, the more you practice that, the easier it becomes. And then it becomes automatic.
Then it
just
becomes
like all of your other habits.
But it's a good habit.
Yes, it is.
It's a great habit.
Yeah.
My gosh. And that, and just when I'm just thinking about that, creating great habits that make you feel good. How wonderful is that?
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to talk about our thoughts a little bit more and our limiting beliefs and how thoughts create sickness and disease and everything, because that goes right in line with, listening to the news every night. So I have a client who had recently had surgery, and it was like questionable. Like oh no, she did have cancer. And so, she had her breast removed. And so I said, do you know what thoughts you were thinking that created that disease in you? And she thought for a moment. She said, I know exactly when it was. And it was in 2020 when she was so fearful. And she remembers the day that she's a mail carrier. She was delivering mail to a church. And she knew the deacon of the church, and every once in a while they would have a brief conversation because she was always on the clock and always being watched. That's another thing, when you have a job that you are always being watched, that would create fear. Stress. Yeah. And so he asked her, so how are you doing? And she said she had a meltdown. And
wait, she said she had a meltdown?
No, she had a meltdown in that moment.
All he had to do is say, hey,
how are you doing?
And then
she just, the waterworks, everything. And he said, come in, let's talk. And she said, I can't. I'm being watched. I'll come back on my lunch. And she did. She got her lunch and went back. And so he told her, like the advice that he gave her was to envision a cross and have God at the top of the cross and to hand everything over to God. And that really, having that vision, and it's whatever tools, whatever names, could be source. It could be, sometimes I envision, like when if I'm worried about my children, I will envision God's arms around my children, or I'll envision a violet light around them. Or I have a mantra that Deanna actually taught me when my children were young, because you used it when your children were young. And you were like, go before them, clear their way, keep them safe night and day. Mm-hmm. And so these are all tools. And there are so many tools that have been used through ancient times, that they really work and they help to calm your nervous system down. So when she was given that visualization, she was able to do that, but that didn't stop the progression of the disease, and so she had since, I think that once she got the diagnosis, she started changing her diet, started changing, what she watches, started changing all of those things. So what we're trying to our intention is to help you to create the life you want without the diagnosis, without, having something happen that forces you to do it. Make that commitment, make that choice now to change your personal reality and to change your reality.
To change your personality.
Yes.
In order to change your personal reality.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
And it is as simple as, just becoming aware of your thoughts.
Yeah.
Become aware of what you're doing.
Yeah.
And do what you're doing because it feels good.
Yeah. Let's talk about the story. When walked in for a session the other day, and Deanna complimented and said, you look so good. She had been...
Said she looked really healthy.
Yeah. You look really healthy. And you knew, you can tell the story, you knew that she had not been feeling well.
Yes.
And,
she had been going through a lot.
Yeah.
There was and it was because of stress and anxiety that she couldn't eat, she couldn't sleep, and she was on a handful of pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
And so she was able, with the doctor's help, to wean herself from the pharmaceuticals. And she started changing everything, what she was watching, what she was thinking. She started changing it all.
Yeah, and it was all stress related.
It was all stress related.
Is like the number one,
cause of disease.
Yeah, whatever stress, look at your life, and make a choice. So you and I are on the precipice of making a leap of faith. Mm-hmm. And we're going to talk about that in upcoming podcast. So we'll let you know when we decide to make it public, after we've done it, because we have to do it. And everything that we talk about here, we practice.
Yes. And we've been aware. I mean, we have a whole list of books. And so I looked at our list, and one of the first books that we had in the list was the Florence Scovel Shinn. Your Word is Your Wand. I have the list. And she started writing these books in 1925.
Yep. I want to go back to because said, you two always look good. And then she said, and we said, because we stay balanced.
We worked at it.
Body, mind, and soul. You got to feed all of that. Body, mind, and soul.
With positive things.
Highly nutritious food is the body. Positive things, not watching the news, is the mind. And
being active.
Being active, of course.
Yeah, getting outside, getting out in Mother Nature.
That's the only thing you have to do to be active, is to get out in Mother Nature. And then hikes. Feeding your soul. Well, Mother Nature feeds your soul, but also, looking at positive things and
putting positive
filling
things.
Your mind with positive, inspiring things. And so she said, it's a struggle to stay balanced. So we're like, change it. Change that right now.
And she did it immediately.
Yes.
She was like, what did she say? Do you remember what she said?
No.
She said something like, it's challenging to change. It is challenging. And that's truth. It is challenging.
Oh, yeah. It's not a challenge. Well, anything that you do that you haven't done, anything that you're doing for the first time, you're stepping out of your comfort zone. But that's what the habitual thoughts are, is your comfort zone. So when you become aware of it, and everyone watching this is becoming aware of their thoughts. So everyone watching this, your life is going to start changing. And then what's really great about that is the people around you, their lives are going to start changing. However, if they're in resistance and they don't want to change, they're going to fade away. They're just going to fade away. And naturally, it's going to happen naturally. There's nothing you have to do about it. So another thing that I realized, and this was this week, and this is probably our last story, was that, especially with my children, but even, so I was in working with my trainer, and he was changing something on this piece of equipment, and I was going into my automated response of, let me help him. Let me make this easier for him. And then at home, with my young adult children, I'm like, let me make their life, I'll do this. My daughter lives with me. I'll do this to make it easier for her. So I'm like, so I had this realization that I do this. And so in that moment with my trainer, Rocco, I said to myself, stop it. I did it. Because I was just about to move, and I stop it.
In your head.
In my head. Oh yeah, in my head. And I was like, oh my God, that feels so good. It felt so good in the moment to do that. The next day, my daughter is sitting in our infrared sauna, and the sauna only comes up to your chest. So you're in the room too. And she goes, Mom, would you, or I suggested something that she could be doing while she was sitting in the sauna, and it was mending something. And she said, would you go over there and get my sewing basket for me? I said, no, I'm not going to make your life easier for you anymore. I said, besides that, your sauna is still warming up, so you can go get it and get back. She we have the kind of relationship that she's like, got it. Oh, no, because, and then she was kind of joking, half joking, because there's, truth and just. And she said, so does that mean you're going to make my life harder? I'm like, no, I'm just going to have more time for me.
You're not going to make your life harder anymore.
Right.
Exactly. So I'm so glad, because Deborah's often, she gets drained by the end of the day because she's making everyone else's life
so easier. Yeah.
And her life is harder.
Yes.
So this is the change. And I am like her biggest cheerleader. And I am celebrating all of these little milestones. Thank you. And we do. We help each other finish sentences.
Well, and I want to end by telling this story. So we're going to, talk to everybody, the both of us here, about how we dress the same today.
Yeah.
Because it was not intentional. But this is a twin thing.
Yes.
Yes, it's
It
a
is
twin thing. So yesterday, Deanna asked me, we were together. She said, what are you wearing for the podcast tomorrow? And I said, I have no idea. I don't know. I have a couple of ideas, but I don't know. And so when I was getting dressed this morning, I had a couple of different things on and they didn't feel like me at all anymore. They were the old me. Like they were things that I hadn't worn that I thought would look good on camera. And I was like, nope, doesn't feel like me. And so I put this outfit on and Deanna picked me up for the podcast today and I got in the car and she was wearing the exact same thing.
Yeah. And the white blouse for me, this is my uniform. You'll see me in this a lot because it always looks good.
Yeah.
So when you see somebody that you really love their outfit or you love what they're wearing, and I even look at what men are wearing because I think men can dress so much simpler. And so it doesn't mean that we're, dressing like men. However, I want to simplify my life. I want to minimize my life. And so the white shirt and the black jacket has always been my uniform. And I'm so happy to see that Deborah is simplifying her wardrobe as well.
Yes, I am. Minimizing too.
Minimizing. So that's how we learn from each other. And so we are here to support you in your journey into becoming and getting over yourself, getting out of your own way. And that's what I've had to do. It was 30 years ago when I had a mentor told me that I had to get out of my own way. And at first I was like, God, what does that mean? Get out of my own way. And it's that monkey mind, that self-sabotaging thoughts, the unconscious thoughts, the thoughts that don't make you feel good. And that is getting out of your own way, getting in the flow of oneness, getting in the flow of unconditional love, getting in the flow of love and saying to yourself in this moment, what would love do?
What would love do?
What would love do?
And I'm going to leave you with a thought. And the thought is, we'll expand on this more in our next podcast. Remember that you are a human being, not a human doing. Take time for yourself. Take time just to relax. Take time to get in nature. Take time
to just be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And see what that feels like.
Yeah.
And let us know.
So much for watching.
And if you loved this,
give us a thumbs up.
and if you think there's someone in your life that would benefit from this, please share it with them.
And if you want to be notified every time we launch our next podcast, subscribe and
hit notifications.
Yeah, and hit notifications.
So that you get the notifications.
Yeah, and we'll see you next time.
Yes, we're so happy for your journey and look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.